Hey, hello, third, fourth, and fifth graders. This is your watercolor demo for your watercolor silhouette power line project. So this is a finished example, and adding the watercolor and then adding the black marker for the power lines. That'll be your last step. But I wanted to show you this because when we add our watercolor lines, watercolor to the background, some of you have asked, because I mentioned sunrises or sunset, so some of you have asked about adding a sun and then adding like the sun rays around it. We're not adding the sun, we're just adding the sky and what the sky looks like during a sunset or a sunrise. So don't get your mind fixed on adding a circle and then going around it for the sun. Nope, I want you to do what I do, okay? So follow along with me right here. So that being said, you're going to need your drawing with on your watercolor or your drawing paper. You're going to need your paint tray that was sent home. The paint tray came with a brush, smaller brush, and then I just use a recycled cup. Ask an adult at home what cup you can use for water for your watercolors. So I want you to leave your paper this way. You're going to be painting across, so from side to side horizontally. So if you have a vertical one like this, you're going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. What we're going to start with is we're going to start with our yellow. We're going to start with our lightest color, and we're going to cover the whole paper yellow first. Okay, we're going to kind of have an undertone of yellow. So if you have a larger brush at home, you can use that. You could try it out at least. If you were in the art room with me, I would give you larger brushes, but this is what came with the tray, and it works just fine. It's going to take a little longer, and it's going to call for adding adding more water, kind of like what I'm doing right now. So make sure, fourth graders, third graders, fifth graders, that you're going side to side. You're covering the whole surface yellow. You don't want to see any white. We don't want to see puddles of color. We want to smooth it out. So notice I'm constantly dipping into my watercolors. Well, not watercolors, but my water. Constantly adding water, especially for this part, for the yellow. Just adding a light tone of yellow across your paper. Starting from one side, starting from the bottom, working your way to the top. So if you have started and you're following along with me, please make sure that you're following along with the video and that you are, if I'm going too fast, you pause the video. If I'm going too slow, then you need to wait for me so that you can hear the next set of directions. Watching the entire video, my virtual learners, before you start any of the steps for your projects. Just a reminder. So I have a lot of water in my yellow, so I'm just going to use that. So I'm really just double checking and making sure I'm going over all of that white space. Double check. And I have one finger really holding on to the corner, so you want something holding on to your paper so it doesn't move around, but I'm just got couple little fingers holding on to that corner. Okay, smoothing out any puddles. You don't want to add too much water to your paper, because if you add too much water to your paper, it'll tend to rip. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry for a second, but now I'm gonna move on. So now it's your choice. Sometimes sunsets look different all the time, but you can choose if you want to have your yellow at the bottom, and then you're gonna gradually add color to the top, add different shades to the top, or you could have the yellow at the top and then gradually have it, darker at the bottom. So I want you to follow along with me, but you choose which direction you want to go in, but follow along with the colors that I'm using. We are going to try out a little orange, a little red, and a little purple, and then finish with blue. So I'm going to leave my yellow at the bottom and then work my way when it gets darker towards the top. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little orange about right here. And then again, just remembering that you're working your way across the paper. You want to do that and making sure you're starting on one end and going all the way across and smoothing out any of the puddles. I'm just going to do a little orange. Now I'm going to move on to my red. Red's pretty intense, but you can do it. So just get that row all the way across. Our paper is getting pretty wet right now, so just being gentle. Let me know if you got it too wet. Just keep going, but yeah, just being aware. A little more red. If it starts to rip, that's when you gotta kind of back off a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start going into my purple. Kind of mixing, oh, it's really dark. A little bit of that purple with that red. Make sure you're going all the way across. And have fun. We're painting. Don't get to do that much right now. It's exciting. I think you're my first class I get to paint with. Okay, once you got a good chunk of purple, then go ahead and get that blue in there. And like when I add a new color, I like to kind of go back and go over some of the previous colors, so going over a little bit of that purple. Be careful when you're dripping. I know I'm constantly going in the water with my paintbrush, so that I'm probably going to be doing that too. Just being careful that you're not dripping those blues in random spots. Notice I'm just going back and forth. You don't want to go in any other direction, just back and forth. Might take some of that blue and kind of come down a little bit lower. Just a little bit. Alrighty. Okay. Your paper is going to be very wet right now. So finding, either leaving it where it is, let it just hang out for a little bit, or finding a very safe spot where you can keep it, let it dry completely. And yeah, I can't wait to see what you create. And let me know if you have any questions, and have fun.